Yoshiaki Kawajiri's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, an adaptation of Hideyuki Kikuchi's series of novels and a sequel of sorts to Toyoo Ashida's earlier adaptation of Vampire Hunter D from 1985, centres on the protagonist's task, D, a Dhampir, mistranslated as Dun Peel, meaning half human and half vampire, to retrieve a young woman, Charlotte, believed to be kidnapped by a noble vampire, Maya Link. However, this task is complicated when D gradually discovers that Charlotte and Maya Link are in love, completely inseparable. Where the Toyoo Ashida film adaptation was stylish and provided engaging characters, the Kawajiri adaptation goes the extra mile for its characterization and its visual presentation. The strengths from the earlier Toyoo Ashida film are preserved here. The versatile mixture of genre conventions from the Western genre, a landscape where bounty hunters compete to retrieve Charlotte and bring her back to her family. Science fiction, the existence of technology not often portrayed within the fantasy genre, such as an incredibly ornate rocket ship which intends to take Maya Link and Charlotte away to a city of night and stars. Gothic horror, Victorian-inspired glamorous costumes, adorn locations filled with darkness, shadow, bats and a full moon, to even romance. Maya Link and Charlotte's connection is more than just basic vampiric bloodlust, as they hold each other tenderly and care for each other throughout the film. Romance is a new prominent genre addition within Bloodlust. Whereas the previous film had no romantic subplot, Bloodlust portrays an unconventional romance between human and vampire. It's a fascinating portrayal, as the disdain they receive from numerous interactions proves that their romance is a symbol of ire for many, as Charlotte and Maya Link face discrimination and prejudice for their love. This is most apparent during a scene on a bridge, where two bounty hunters crack jokes about Maya Link leaving his carriage, burning in the sunlight, in his attempt to free and protect Charlotte from the clutches of such bounty hunters. Her breaking free, rushing to comfort him, despite the frequent blazes he experiences, illustrates their dedication to each other. Nobody can tear them apart. The goal of this couple is to leave where they are scrutinized and harassed for a place more accepting, a city amongst the nighttime stars. It is difficult not to make the comparison of this unconventional romance to that of other people who face prejudice for who they love, be them queer or interracial. Bigotry attempts to tear away at the love within these kinds of relationships, and yet love prevails. While it might not have been the intention, Maya Link and Charlotte's relationship is a fitting allegory for love being challenged due to prejudice. While this embrace of genre versatility is still apparent and no less enjoyable, Bloodlust also improves upon the previous film too. For starters, the post-apocalyptic landscape is more visually distinct, with abandoned highways, giant satellite dishes in a state of disrepair. The background art is beautifully utilised, providing more visually engaging angles than the previous film, avoiding any frame of animation within Bloodlust becoming visually flat. Bloodlust also embraces a more unique voice in fantasy, creating its own otherworldly ideas and conveying them via intriguing visuals. A resting house where Maya Link resides has the appearance of a mirror-like building, more like the reflective glass buildings within Koyaanisqatsi than a traditional fantasy, as it is secured by laser-armed sharp-shooting eyes, giant sand manta rays that burst from the desert landscape, absurdly large in size, shadows serving as a weak spot in combat when targeted by a specialist supernatural assassin, leading to the death of a bounty hunter. Characters faced with fears that make the characters vulnerable to attack. These are just a few examples which make Bloodlust stand out as a unique contribution to the Gothic fantasy genre. The animation budget of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust seems to have also increased, as the animation quality is incredibly polished. Every slice of combat, every flicker of cloth, every visual detail is truly stunning to watch. The animation quality is smooth, slick and detailed. A great example to demonstrate this animation's fluidity would be when a competing bounty hunter fires an arrow in D's direction, to which he catches it effortlessly, the full moon behind him. A stunning spectacle to watch. This sequence makes it very easy to appreciate the improvements in animation made with Bloodlust in comparison to the previous Vampire Hunter D film. Kawajiri also uses his strobe lighting effect to add emphasis to the violence within the combat sequences of the film, a technique seen before in a previous film of his, Wicked City. It is effective in exaggerating the impact of each sword slice and each deadly swipe, leaving these animated sequences intense and memorable. While viewers of the previous Vampire Hunter D film will know that D is an engaging protagonist, embracing the power of vampirism and the compassion of a good-natured human, a new character is introduced within Bloodlust, who is a welcome addition to the series. Leila, a bounty hunter in a group of rivals competing for the bounty money attached to the retrieval of Charlotte. She is tough-willed, stubborn, and a natural fighter, and yet in contrast, she is also compassionate, caring, and even lonely. She takes care of an injured bounty hunter like he was her own family, and in a personal discussion with D, she reveals she comes from nothing, and that her parents, her only family, were kidnapped by vampires, never to return back to their original selves. During this sequence, she also makes a pact with D. Whoever survives, they must attend to the funeral of the other, bringing flowers. She reveals this sentimental, personal side to herself because she believes nobody would attend her funeral, only to be proven incorrect when, likely retiring as a bounty hunter, she clearly became a pillar of a community which was impacted by her death, proven by the fact that so many people attend her funeral in the film's conclusion. This is a fascinating insight into Leila, a character often portrayed as rough and tough on the outside, but a reflective acknowledgement of the personal trauma she has survived, the kidnapping of her parents by vampires, and how it motivates her to hunt down vampires, makes her initially harsh exterior all the more understandable and empathetic. We gain a sensitive insight into Leila more when she is made to confront her personal trauma, her younger self grieving at a lone grave. Her adult self tells her younger self that it isn't her fault, completing her character arc. She doesn't need to hunt vampires for emotional closure, she had to confront herself to overcome her trauma. Leila is a powerfully reflective and emotionally tender character that is an unexpected and more than welcome addition to the Vampire Hunter D series, as she elevates Bloodlust from a mere genre mishmash splatterfest into something so much more fascinating. The genre mishmash is the backdrop, but with the character of Leila, Bloodlust becomes more a character study about something that many viewers have experienced in their own lives, the struggle to overcome grief. In conclusion, Yoshiaki Kawajiri's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust manages to effortlessly improve upon the strengths of the previous Vampire Hunter D anime film adaptation, transcending mere action horror tropes by also embracing a romantic subplot that serves as an allegory for all the times relationships have been met with prejudice due to the unaccepting nature of bigoted people when they encounter queer and or interracial romance, anything different from themselves. With such engaging characters such as the new addition of Leila, Bloodlust also explores the difficulty of overcoming loss and grief, a universal struggle, and how it impacts a person's attitude. With Leila, she allowed her grief to become disdain, but when made to confront with her past, she grows into a reflective person willing to love and forgive. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust truly manages to transcend its more pulpier origins by embracing powerfully human emotions of love, grief and forgiveness, melded with the shocks of gothic horror and gory violence, a fascinating mixture of the human and horrific that makes Vampire Hunter D such a brilliant series in the first place.